Oh, beautiful morning, my amiable students. I hope you guys are doing great. Very soon we'll be seeing our section. We'll be seeing ourselves very soon. But today, still in our online learning, we are going to be doing word problems. And the things we are going to be looking at under word problems is sum and differences, products, combining products with sum and differences, expression involving fractions, numbers to words, and problems involving equations. So these are the things we are going to be doing on that word problem. But today's lesson will only cover sum and differences, then we'll also consider products. So as you go through the lesson, ensure you also work with your textbook for better understanding too. Let's quickly go to the next slide. Now, sum and differences. Before we even explain sum and differences, we have to know what we mean by word problems. So when we talk of word problems, we are trying to solve mathematical problems from words. And we have sentences. We can always transform them into mathematical expressions or equations. So that's what we are majorly looking at in this topic. So we are going to be seeing sum and differences now. So when we talk of sum, according to what we have on our slide, the sum of a set of numbers is the result you get when you add the numbers. When you hear that word sum, it just has to do with addition. Add. For example, the sum of 12 and 9 is 12 plus 9. The sign for sum is plus. That you can see the sign on this slide. So when you hear sum, it means addition, and you can see that the sum gives us 21 from the example there. Now when we talk of difference, we are talking of subtraction, and we are talking of the sign minus. So we are talking of subtracting one number from the other. That's what we are talking about when we talk of difference. Now we will not waste much time. We are just going to be looking at examples so that we can quickly do some other things. The first example that we have there that we are going to consider under sum and difference is, as you can see, we have the sum of certain number. The sum of a certain number and 13 is 30. What is the number? Now let's quickly move to the next slide because we have the questions there too. Okay, the first question says the sum of a certain number and 13 is 30. What is the number? You can see this is a problem that we have to think. You see, we have words, there's no mathematical expression there, but from this word, since we are dealing with word problem, we should be able to form a mathematical expression. Remember, you can see the word sum there. That is to say, what we are doing now has to do with addition. Well, now let's think. They said the sum of a certain number. That is to say, we don't know that number. And 13 is 30. That is to say, if I had a certain number that I don't know to 13, it's supposed to give me 30. So writing this statement in a mathematical form, as you can see on our screen, we say let that number that we don't know be x. And according to the question, we were told that the sum of that number that we don't know and 13 equals 30. So we are going to write it in equation form now. So it then becomes x plus 13 equals 30. You can see it on our slide. So that's the equation that you have there. From that statement, we'll be able to form a mathematical equation. That's what we're, when we say word problem, that's what we are talking about. Now let's collect like terms to be able to get what the number is. So in this case, what do we do? The number that is not having x, which is 13, will cross the equal to sign to the right hand side of the equation, and anytime a number crosses equal to sign, the sign of that number will change. You can see we have plus at the front of 13, so when it goes to the right hand side of the equation, it becomes minus. So that's why you now have x equals 30 minus 13, and our final answer is what? 17. That is, the number is 17. That is, 17 is that number that when you sum it with 13, the answer will give you 30. That is, when you add 17 to 13, it's supposed to give you 30. So when we are asked that the sum of a certain number and 13 is 30, and they're asking us what the number is, this is how we go about solving to get the number. You just form the equation from the question and you solve to get the unknown, which is x, as in this case. Now let's look at the second example. The second example says, find the positive difference between minus 7 and minus 12. The positive difference. Please note that word, positive difference. Remember, when we are talking of difference, we are talking of what? Subtraction. Now, since we are talking of subtraction, but they say positive difference, this will say we can also have a negative difference. And we are saying positive difference, that is to say the bigger number, the smaller number should be subtracted from the bigger number. That is, the bigger number will have to come first. Now, looking at this question critically may look confusing because we have minus 7 and minus 12, and we are told to find the positive difference. Now, the question that now comes in is, between minus 7 and minus 12, which one is greater? Which one is the biggest number that should come first? Now, mathematically, when any number carries a negative sign, the higher the number, the lesser it is. So we then say that minus 7 is greater than minus 12. So because of that mathematical fact, our answer will become minus 7 minus, which is the difference, and minus 12. You see in bracket, because this minus is this minus 12, we are subtracting it from minus 7. And mathematically, minus times minus will give us plus. So when you open this bracket here, you have minus times minus, it will give us plus. That's why our answer then become minus 7 plus 12. So if you have minus 7 plus 12, it means you are owing 7, for instance, and you have 12. What will happen? You pay 7 and you have 5 left. So our answer is what? 5. So that's how we got that. Sorry, let's quickly go back. Then number 3, we're told to look for the difference between two numbers. Okay, they said the difference between two numbers is 7. If the smaller number is 7, find the other. The difference between two numbers is 7. If the smaller number is 7, find the other. Now, let's think very well before attempting this question. Looking at the question, they said the difference. That is, when you subtract two numbers, the answer is 7. When you subtract two numbers, the answer is 7. We don't know the two numbers, but the smaller number from the two numbers is 7. But when you subtract them, you subtract the smaller one from the bigger one, the solution is supposed to be 7, but the smaller one is 7. So how do we get the other one? Remember, we said if the smaller one is 7, according to our question, then let the number be x. You just assume that the number is x. So since we were told that the difference between the number is 7, so x minus 7 will be equal to 7, because the difference between the numbers with the question told us that is 7. And when we collect like terms from what we have, see the minus 7 that we have here, we have to go to the right hand side of the equation, and when that happens, x will be equal to 14. That is, the number is 14. Now looking at the question very well, you observe that it is 14 that you can remove 7 from to give 7, because 14 minus 7 will give you 7. So that is to say our answer is what? Is very correct. Now there was a question that we ought to look at before. That's number 4 from the previous question, and it says the number of 4 consecutive numbers is 54. Now say find the numbers. Sorry, not the numbers. It said the sum rather. The sum of 4 consecutive numbers is 58. Find the numbers. Now let's go to solve. Now we don't know the numbers. How do we get the numbers? Now they are telling us that we have 4 consecutive numbers, but we don't know the numbers, but we know the sum of the numbers. Now the first thing that comes to your mind is, what, when we say consecutive number, what are we trying to say? That is to say, the increase in those numbers, they keep increasing with the same amount. That's what we mean by consecutive number. That is to say, if the first one is 1, the other one can be 2, 3, 4. It keep increasing in same amount consecutively, like that. That's what it means. So in this case, so if there are 4 numbers, we can just decide to call the number anything. For the second one, we have to add 1. Let's assume it's increasing by 1. We add 1 to it, 2, 3, and so on, because that's the consecutive. That's what consecutive number mean. Now in this, that's what it means for numbers to be occurring consecutively. Now looking at that, so we decided to say that let the numbers be n plus 1, n plus 2, n plus 3. And when you add all these numbers together, because we are told that the sum equals 58, so we have to add them together. So adding them together, we have n plus 1 plus n plus 2 plus n plus 3 equals 58. Now we are going to add all the n's. We're going to add all the n's. So n plus n equals 2n, plus n equals 3n, plus n equals 4n. Then the other numbers, we are going to add them. 1 plus 2 equals 3, plus 3 equals 6. So we have 4n plus 6 equals 58. Now collecting like terms, we have 6 in this side plus 6. So we are going to take it to the right hand side. When you take that plus 6 to the right hand side, it becomes minus 6. So when we say 58 minus 6, it will give us 52. And the next thing that we have to do here, since we are looking for n, we are going to divide both sides by 4. Why? Because 4 is disturbing n in the left hand side of the equation. So for n to stand alone, we have to divide both sides by 4. So at the end of the day, you can see that n equals 13. Now if we can now say the consecutive numbers that we are talking about now, the consecutive numbers will be 13, because remember we said our numbers are n plus 1, n plus 2, and n plus 3. So the consecutive numbers will be 13, the other one will be plus 1, 13 plus 1 is 14, 13 plus 2 is 15, 13 plus 3 is 16. So our numbers are 13, 14, 15, and 16. These are the 4 consecutive numbers that can be added together to give 58 rather. Now we are done with sum and differences, sum and difference of numbers. So you have a classwork here that you have to do. So you go to your portal and ensure you do the classwork that's on the portal under this word problems. And let's quickly go to the next slide to study product before we call it a day. Now you see when we say product of a number, what do we mean? The product of 2 or more numbers is the result of multiplying them together. When I have 2 numbers, when I say the product means multiplying those 2 numbers together. Product means multiplication. In other words, times. Now, looking at the example that we have in the picture. We have example 1. And what is the question? The question says find the product of -6, 0.7, and 6 whole number 2/3. Now, how are we going to get the product? Remember that product is multiplication. So we are going to multiply all these numbers together. So we have -6 times 0.7 times 6 whole number 2/3. Now, the 0.7 there, for us to be able to solve with it, we have to convert it to a proper fraction. It's in decimal fraction, so we have to convert it to a proper fraction. I'm going to move the decimal point to the right hand side. So when we move it 1 times to the right hand side, it will be over 10. So that's why the next line we have 7/10. Then we convert 6 whole number 2/3 to an improper fraction. No, it's a mixed fraction, so we convert it to an improper fraction by saying 3 times 6 will give us 18 plus 2 will give us 20. So 20/3. Now, when you are dealing with multiplication of fractions, this one now is a fraction, 6/1 minus 6/1, 7/10, and 20/3. When we are dealing with multiplication of fractions, the numerator is called the numbers at the top are called numerator. The ones at the down, they are the denominator. So the numerator will multiply themselves and the denominator will multiply themselves. So we now have -6 times 7 times 20 divided by 10 times 3. Now we are going to divide. Looking at the numerator, 10 that is down here, we have 1. When 10 go into 20, we have 2. So when 3 cancel here, 3 go into 6, we have 2. So what do we have left at the numerator? We have 2 minus 2, 7, and 2. So that's what we have, -2, 7, and 2. Then the denominator, we only have 1 and 1. 1 times 1 is still 1. So, and any number divided by 1 is still that number. So that we don't need to write those ones again. So the remaining thing that we have there is -2 times 7 times 2. And when you multiply the numbers together, our final answer will be -28. -28. So our answer is -28. That is the product of -6, 0.7, and 6 whole number 2/3 equals -28. So that is that for the first example. Now let's quickly look at the second example as we are rounding off. The second example under product says the product of 2 numbers is 8 whole number 4/9. If one of the number is 1/4, find the other. You need to read the question again and again to understand this particular question. Once you understand it, you will not have problem solving it. They said the product of 2 numbers is, that is to say, if you multiply 2 numbers, the answer is 8 whole number 4/9. That is the answer when you multiply the 2 numbers. Now they are now telling us that one of the 2 numbers that we are multiplying is 1/4. but we don't know the second one, but we should find the second one. Now we're going to look for the second number. So let's assume that the second number is x. So if they say the two numbers, we multiply them to give 8 whole number 4/9. That is to say 1/4 times x will give us equals what? 8 whole number 4/9. Now we have 1/4. When we have 1/4 times x is the same thing as x/4 equals, then we are going to convert our 8 whole number 4/9 to an improper fraction. So that's why we have 9 times 8 plus 4. It gave us 76/9. Now when you have a fraction like this, we have x/4 now equals 76/9. When you have a fraction like this, to solve this, the best thing is to cross multiply. So, and what is cross multiplication? Cross multiplication is the number that you have at the down part of the fraction will multiply the one at the top, and the other one at the other side will multiply the one at the down. So you multiply it crossly. So we now have x times 9 give us 9x. 4 times 76. That's why you have what we have down there. We now have x times 9 equals 76 times 4. So x times 9 is 9x, and 76 times 4 is 304. Now we are looking for x. We are not looking for 9x, so we have to divide both sides by 9. And when we do that, our final answer equals, though it's not showing here, our final answer is supposed to be equal to, so you can use long division to divide to get the final answer there. I think the end of it you are supposed to get 33.77. so get the final answer by long division method. Now after that, you're also going to do a little classwork under product. Remember, don't forget to do the classwork under sum and differences. We are still going to do classwork under product. All classwork will be included in your classwork portal in the school portal. Thank you very much. God bless you. Ensure you keep learning. If there's any question, you have to communicate me via WhatsApp or the school portal. God bless you once again. Goodbye.